Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of The Awesome Cody. As usual, I'm your host, Cody, and today we are wrapping up May's theme of awesome horror franchises. And today we're wrapping it up with yet another movie that has another sequel coming out. Well, it's only a sequel so far, but it's going to make it a franchise, I think is what they said. I don't know. Anyways, it's A Quiet Place, and A Quiet Place 2, which comes out as of recording this Friday. But if you're listening to this in the future, May 27th, I believe, is the date. No, 28th is the date. I'll be seeing it on Thursday, 27th, with Paige, and then probably talking about it with the guys on the main podcast at one point. But that's for another day. So for the folks who don't know, anyone who doesn't know what A Quiet Place is, A Quiet Place is a horror film directed by John Krasinski. It came out in 2018. It was written by a gentleman named Brian Woods and Scott Beck, along with Kerzinski himself, who is credited as a co-writer on the screenplay. But it's based on a story that Brian Woods and Scott Beck have been working on for quite a few years, and they use a lot of the references from when they grew up in Iowa near farms to help build the atmosphere and the environment that the movie takes place in. So the cool thing with this movie, a couple of the cool things. One is it's intense from beginning to end. It is brutal throughout the movie. There are lots of shocking twists in it. Not like, oh, the monsters were always in the house. But it is just the unbridled unforgiveness, really, I guess you could say. So basically what I'm talking about is the movie starts off with the Abbott family scavenging inside this town, which later comes back in the trailer for the second one. But and we're in a world we don't know too much about yet, just know that there's these creatures, monsters, who are attracted to sound. So the less sound you make, the better and more safe you're going to be, because they can't really see you with visible eyes or light. It's all by sound, much like bats and other creatures like that. And so there, what the brutal part is, in the beginning, the family is John's character, Emily Blunt, his real life wife in the movie. Their oldest daughter, their middle son, a younger son, and then Lee Abbott, or Evelyn Abbott, who is played by Emily Blunt, is pregnant at the time. And the movie starts with them scavenging through and scrounging things in the town, and the son sees a electric engine, fire engine, and he decides he wants to use that or take that, but they need to not have batteries in it because, well, it makes sound and things like that, and that's very bad. So they are going along. Bo essentially has the toy. The fire engine has batteries in it. It goes off. Sound rings through. I'm trying to remember. They're on a bridge. Yeah, it's a bridge. And they're walking, and the sound goes off. Lee, who is Krasinski's character, hears it, runs for his youngest son, but right before he gets there, the son gets grabbed by one of the monsters and is carried off into the woods, presumably being dead, and we find out later on he is. The movie then jumps a year ahead to when now, that was a year ahead, and Emily is pregnant, and they're on this farm where they have set up with signal lights and things like that, and they've kind of, for over the last year, have built a life at this farm, and kind of fortified it, and have been doing different things to reach out and try to find other people, and so on and so forth down the line. So the cool thing about this movie, another cool thing about this movie, is their oldest daughter, who is deaf in the movie, is actually played by an actress who is deaf in real life. And Krasinski wanted that to add realism to it because he didn't want an actress acting deaf. He wanted an actual deaf actress for two reasons. One, authenticity. I can't talk apparently. As well as giving them a chance to learn what it's like to live in that world, and help them on set kind of develop a family dynamic around having a deaf child in the family in this world, which is two things about that is interesting concept for this movie, and I don't know if that was always something that was in the story or not, and I never looked it up, but one of the cool things is her handicap is both beneficial to the family as well as hindering the family, because she has a hard, obviously she can't hear, so she doesn't know if and when she might be making noise, because if she, for example, steps on something that clatters and she doesn't know it, she can't hear it per se, because she does have hearing aids, but they've fallen in disrepair over the time, because again, we don't know how long this has been a world they lived in, but so John throughout the movie is trying to improve on it and help her hear again, but he is obviously not probably not an expert in that field, as well as in this post-alien world, or aliens, monster world, I don't know where they came from, they don't ever explain it, which I like about it. He's just trying his best to help out and do what he can to help her live in this world, because apparently with those hearing aids, I think they're the ones that have the implants, she could partially hear before. Now she's like full on deaf because she doesn't have her hearing aids properly, and he's always trying to help. They also have the radio system set up and things like that, and warning triggers and things like that they use to hear the monsters as they creep around, because they're pretty silent, because they need to be silent to be able to hear prey properly. Anyhow, so it's awesome that way. The other part about her being deaf in the movie, not a cool thing, but basically a cool detail about it is that the family already knew sign language, American Sign Language, and so that actually helps them survive in this world where they need to not talk and they need to be able to communicate still. So the parents knew American Sign Language, and they taught it to their kids so they can communicate with their older sister. And it comes into handy when they're living in a silent world because of the monsters in the world they are living in, and it's pretty cool that way. I guess I should have said spoilers about the beginning of the movie, but that's my bad, I guess. Whatever. The movie's fucking 4 years old at this point, so, or 3 years old. I don't know math. 3 years old. So get to it. So like I said, John Krasinski directed this movie as well, as I said earlier, as well as co-wrote the screenplay. As a, I don't know. Well, I know it's not his first directorial movie, which I don't actually remember the name of. I guess, was that his first one? Brief Interviews with Hidden Men, or Hideous Men. That might be his directorial debut. I don't know, but he's done a lot of different things. John Krasinski is best known for being Jim Halpert on The Office, as well as nowadays being Jack Ryan in the Jack Ryan TV show on Amazon, as well as many different things. But he had a lot of small roles and bit roles in different shows throughout the years. Even during the Office and things like that, he still had appearances on different shows. Movie wise, he's done a lot of different things. He probably some of the best stuff. Well, he was in the Muppets. He played himself in that one. Leatherheads, he was really good in that one. He did. He was the voice in Monsters vs. Aliens as well as in Monsters University. I don't remember him being in Taxi, but I don't think I remember that movie very well. Jarhead, that was a really good one too. Really fucked up movie. He was a voice in Shrek the Third. There's something else. He did a bunch of rom-coms as well in there too. There was something else I was thinking of. 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. That was a good one too. He was in that one. And he produced one of the best movies ever made, which is Manchester by the Sea. So, you should watch that if you haven't already. And so on and so forth. Yeah, so he's done a lot of different things. And it's John Krasinski. He's awesome. Next up is the writers. So the two gentlemen who wrote this movie have worked with each other for a very long time. They're friends from growing up in Iowa together. And then Davenport, Iowa, technically, is where they went to. And they've written several movies. They directed a bunch of, I think Brian Woods directed a bunch. Well, I think they actually directed together. I think I saw a list of a bunch of stuff they did together. But anyways, as a group, they've done a movie called Impulse, which was a movie came out in 2010. Then there was Night Flight. I can't talk with words apparently. Night Flight. They did A Quiet Place. They did directed a movie called Haunt. Many of these I've not ever seen. And then a bunch of other stuff. Writing wise, obviously A Quiet Place is their biggest thing that they've done. The cool thing, so again, I haven't seen the sequel yet. It's obviously I'm going to see it in like 2 days. But the John has he has written the sequel, and he's directing the sequel as well, and he's in it in flashbacks. Spoiler, because he dies in the first movie. And which is pretty cool because like you kind of get to see again. I don't think we're really going to find out exactly where the monsters come from. Maybe not. I don't know. If I've tried to avoid a lot of the trailers to kind of like keep it fresh and unspoiled in my brain. But I know from the one trailer we saw last year right before the pandemic happened and kicked this movie to way back to now is. There's a flashback of the emergence of the monsters for the first time. You see it from the perspective of the Abbott family in that small town that they end up living outside of on a farm. And you see the utter wreckage the monsters do, and then jumps forward to the events after the first movie and the remaining Abbott family moving forward. Trying to find a new place because at the end of the movie, the farm they were living on burns down as well as in a wreckage from the attack that happens at the end of the movie. And a lot of things like that. And it's got a extended cast with a lot of people that I actually like a lot. Cillian Murphy is one of them. I think he's an amazing actor, and I can't wait to see him in this one because he's probably going to be fucking amazing. You have, and I don't know if I ever say his name correctly, but it's Damon Housen, I think, or Hanzu. I'm not too sure. He's been in a lot of things. He's been in a couple of Marvel movies. He was in Captain Marvel. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, I believe. He was in Aquaman. Constantine. He played Papa Midnight. He was in Shazam. He was in Gladiator way back in 2000. Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio. What else? I think he's been. I didn't pull up his things. He's been in a lot of different things. Amistad. That's when I was trying to remember. I was like, man, he was in another big movie. Amistad. He's pretty awesome. And Cillian Murphy, of course, is to me always going to be big for two movies. One is his version or interpretation of Scarecrow in Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, as well as in the beginning of Dark Knight. And then, of course, his portrayal or his character in 28 Days Later, which is one of my favorite non-zombie movies. And if I ever talk about the movie, I should talk about those movies. Or that movie especially because it's really good. They're not technically zombies because they're not technically dead, and they're not technically undead. It's a rage infection. Doesn't matter. It's a great movie and is just so good. And again, returning is Millicent Simmons, who is plays Regan Abbott, the deaf daughter of Lee and Evelyn Abbott. You have Noah. I think it's Jupe or Jupe, I'm not too sure, coming back as Marcus Abbott, the middle son. And then you have John Krasinski playing Lee Abbott in flashbacks, like I said. And Scoot McNairy is in it in a role I don't know too much about. I just know he's in it because he's on the list of cast members. I'm really excited about this new movie. I loved the first one so much. Again, like I was saying, right before the pandemic happened, we actually had tickets to go see a double feature of the first movie, followed directly by the second movie, and we were all super excited. And then the week before that happened, they called the shutdown for the pandemic, and all movie theaters closed. Movie went away. They gave us our money back, and depression hit pretty heavy because I want to watch that movie real bad. And now, a year later, I finally get to do that in theaters, and it's going to be awesome. So yeah, that's it for this week's episode. That's it for this month's theme of awesome horror franchises. Tune in next week for a brand new theme for June, which I don't know what it is yet, so find out next week, and I will talk to you then. And as usual, I've been your host, Cody. This has been The Awesome with Cody, and like I always say at the end of these, let's be awesome.